Greetings, my little guzzlers. We're gonna bake a sort of cake, or cakes. It's a recipe I found. I was looking for some recipes for Marmite, because I do love my Marmite, and this one actually uses a lot of Marmite. And it came up with these Marmite, walnut and feta friands. Now, I had no idea what a friand was, and it appears to me a friand, F-R-I-A-N-D, is like a cake. So it looks like a normal, muffin tin or, cupcake tin, but they're oval rather than round. And you think, well, what's the big deal? But apparently, your actual sort of mix, if you like, is slightly different. So your texture, it's more like a cake rather than a muffin. People say, well, they look like muffins, but apparently it's more cake-like than muffin-like. But anyway, whatever. So, it's got quite an array of ingredients. So I'm going to make 24 because I've actually got a request for some of these. So I'm not trying to eat all 24. So what we need is some almond flour, some margarine, Marmite obviously, some walnuts, or you can, like I'm doing, I've just got mixed chopped nuts there, poppy seeds, baking powder, black pepper, feta, plain flour, and egg whites. Now, because I'm making 24, I've got 12 egg whites. That's a lot of egg whites. So, but before we can really do much else, we need to get the margarine and Marmite combined. So in this saucepan, I'm going to add 300 grams of margarine, and then I've got 8 teaspoons approximately. You can cut this back a bit if you like, or rather if you don't like Marmite too much, you can cut it back to around about 5 or 6. But my last Marmite recipe, I was a bit surprised how little seemed to be in it, and you didn't really taste it in the final sort of breakfast muffins it made. So I've stuck with the recommended 8. Now all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put that onto a low heat, and we're just going to melt that down so that we can make sure the margarine and Marmite are all combined together. Now while that's melting gently down, I've got in here 220 grams of ground almonds or almond flour, and I'm going to put into that my plain flour, which I've got 250 grams of that. My chopped nuts, like I say, it doesn't have to be walnuts. I've got 140 grams of that, or those, should I say. I've got half a teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. My baking powder, 2 teaspoons of that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give them a bit of a mix together. Now with feta, I've got 100 grams, is that right? 100 grams of feta, but what I need to do is I need to obviously crumble this up. Okay, not putting the big chunks in like that. So I'm just going to crumble that up, and then we'll mix all this dry such ingredients together. So the poppy seeds, they're for decorating just before we put them in the oven, and obviously the egg whites, we're going to be mixing them in there, but before we do that we're going to whisk them up. Now I've got my oven on. If it's non-fan 180, mine's a fan, it's on at 160, although I've got to just double check the temperature. And I'm using, like I say, I didn't have any friand tins. Actually I said to you, they're oval. They can be oval or they can be little rectangles. But I'm using my muffin tins, and we're not using cupcake cases. We're going to put them straight in there, so I've just gone through with the margarine and greased them all. So they're done. This is melting down. It's not quite there yet. That's mixed together. So we're now just going to whisk this up. Now if you want to use an electric whisk you can do, but we want to whisk this up to get soft peaks. Now we're going to take our margarine and Marmite melt, and we're going to pour that in there. And we want to mix that together, and when we've got that all combined, we're going to fold as gently as we can that egg white through this, because obviously we want to try not to lose too much of the air. And then that's it. Like we said, we're going to put it into the muffin tins, and then just decorate it with a few poppy seeds on top. Actually, what's interesting, I can now, I've seen these white bits thinking it's bits of flour, but of course those white bits is my feta that is now visible. Now the rest of it's all gone brown. So now I'm just going to fold those egg whites into that mixture. So what I've done is I've added a small amount of the whites, just so that I can loosen this mixture up, so I'm not too worried about knocking the air out. At the moment I'm just trying to get this loose enough, because it was quite stiff before, so that we can then, like I say, gently fold the rest of that in. It does take quite a bit to get rid of all that white, but all I'm doing now is mix it, distributing it out amongst the cupcake tins. Remember I said we should make 24. So I'm going to get these done, and then they're going to go in that preheated oven, 160 fan, remember, for about 20 to 25 minutes until they're obviously done. And then we're going to take them out and we'll let them cool a little bit before we transfer them to a wire rack. 25 minutes. I had to run a knife just around the edge, but then they lifted out, and this is like a little bit of a runty one because I didn't have a lot left. But the texture of it is definitely not muffin as such. Went a bit overboard in the poppy seeds on that one. Forgot to add them when at the end of that video when I said ready to go in the oven, but I did add the poppy seeds on top. Very Marmite, as you'd expect. Nutty. You've got this warm, I know they're warm because they're out of the oven, but it's added this nice sort of warmth to the free handle cake, or what you want to call it. And you get a hint of the cheese. I think probably I'd put more cheese in it, although there is that cheesy sort of background to it. The Marmite doesn't totally overpower it. It's a bit like having cheese on toast, where quite often if we have cheese on toast we'll put Marmite on the toast, a lot of Marmite, then you put your cheese on top and then grill it, and you get that just a little extra special cheese on toast. So Marmite, feta and walnut cakes. If you like Marmite, you'll love these.